How are you, man? You've had a busy year, supporting your last album in the dust, and I got to tell you right now, "Make It Easy" is like
Yeah,
we played that song several times, man. I love that song. You just keep getting better and better, kid. Talk about the
thanks a
last
lot.
year because you've been busy, man.
Well, I mean, In the Dust actually, it's been a year and a half now uh, for that. But let's see, for the last year, I mean, we went to Europe last spring for a really great tour. It was a lot of fun. And we did a US tour in the fall, just like 3 weeks. That was fun as well. And we're getting ready to record a record.
I know with Jay Robbins, right?
Yep, we're doing it with Jay again.
Yeah, I'm
So,
definitely going to talk about that with you in a little while because I know Jay because I put out a couple government issue records on Giant. He was in the
yep,
band at the time.
he
Yeah,
was, yes.
I talked to mostly was dealing with Tom, but I did see him at the shows and stuff. Tom Lyle, the guitar player,
Yeah.
was the business guy in the band.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Not
Okay.
Stab. Stab was
No?
no, Stab was like didn't really get involved in that aspect of rest in peace, man. What a nice
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Before we get to that stuff, well, no, let me go back for a second here. So Europe, you've been to Europe many, many times with Bullet Lavolta and Targets, and do you feel like your audience is getting bigger there?
No. Nope. It's it's gotten smaller.
At
Sorry to
least
say.
you're honest.
Yeah. No. It was a different time when the first time I went there in '89 with Bullet Volta. There was a lot of excitement going on. I mean, rock was still alive and well, and we were playing places for like anywhere from 300 to 700 people. Did a couple festivals with the Targets and Bullet Volta. Uh, I mean, if Bullet Volta went over there now, I think they do really well. But the Targets, you know, the audience, it's the quality has increased, the quantity has decreased.
So the attendance wasn't really that good at the shows.
In Europe, no. The attendance was good. We sold out some shows. It's just we're playing smaller places. You
Okay,
know,
that's good though.
it is what it is. You know, I'm 61 years old, still doing this. I'll take it.
Yeah, you're doing a great job of it
You know,
too, I
I
have to
mean, I'm
say.
having the time of my life doing it. It's been 6.5 years now with Emilian and Eve, and I've had the best time of my life, really doing music.
How did you find those guys? Because they're both from Montreal, right?
Yeah, they're both from Montreal.
You
I,
had
I mean,
told me, by the way, at that time that there was a fourth member, but that didn't work out.
yeah, we had a fourth member for one tour, Fred, who played second guitar, and he had another band that he was into that was kind of on hiatus, and after our tour, they got back together, and we weren't really his thing. He did us a big favor actually doing that because I was having trouble at the time with my hands, the Dupuytren's contracture that I have.
What is that?
That's a hand disease. They call it the Vikings disease. Like, see my pinky?
Oh my God.
Like, it won't lift up any more than that.
Are you
It's,
serious?
yeah, I've had an operation on this hand. It's not so bad, but it impedes my playing a little bit, and it was really bothering me at the time. So I thought, let's get a second guitar player, for this tour.
Wow, you know who has a finger just like that all messed up? Chris
Who?
Poland. Do you know Chris Poland?
I know the name.
He was the original guitarist in Megadeth on the first two records, but then he's been in Ohm. But DM the Machine, I worked with them and went on tour with them for like 6 weeks. They were an A&M band in the '90s.
Okay,
His pinky finger doesn't work at all, and I'm like, "How the hell do you play?" And he just does it
it's
with
not
his
too
other.
uncommon. I've got a friend of mine, Chris Squire, who plays in this band Rabbit City in Baltimore. Great band, by the way. And he's got it worse than I do. He can only play with three fingers. I mean, at least I can still use my pinky, to some extent. He plays guitar with three fingers, so
Wow.
he's kind of my hero. If I can deal with this, with what he's dealing with, then it's not so bad.
What was it like when you had the second guitar player?
It was different. I mean, there's just a vibe with the trio. You kind of, I don't know, there's less to work with, so you're more attentive to it, I think. Um, I could relax a little bit more. He played some of the solos. I did more rhythm. Um, I mean, it was cool, but definitely nothing against Fred or having a four-piece band. Definitely enjoy the trio more. As my hand got a little better, uh, at the same time that Fred kind of went back to his other band. You know,
Let me go back to my original question about the two
yeah.
guys that how did you hook up with them? Were they fans of the band?
Yes and no. Emilian was the drummer,
Right.
and we were Facebook friends. And I don't know. I thought I might have told you this before, but anyways, he came to a gig like that was Moving Targets with
Yeah.
Jay and Chuck Freeman, Jay Akari and Chuck Freeman. It was kind of like the last gig ever of Moving Targets since Rona and I were moving to Texas at the time from Massachusetts. And he drove down like 5 hours to come to the gig with a couple of friends. I thought that was pretty amazing. So our friendship grew, and he sent me a couple of years after that. He sent me a video of him playing "Let Me Know Why," a Moving Targets song from the first record, and he did really well. And I just said, "Hey, you want to go on tour? Go to Europe or something like that? Do you know a bass player?" And he said, "Yeah, I know a bass player who might be into this." That was Eve. Eve didn't know anything about the Moving Targets, so he got up to speed pretty quickly. Learning the songs with Emilian, and we did our first tour. We did our first gig in Boston in 2018, like July 20th or whatever, and then we went to Europe in the fall.
So both of those guys play on humbucker and wires.
Oh yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep. Both
So
guys.
they've been with you for three records now.
Yeah, yeah. 6.5 years now.
I'm going to ask you about that live thing that I saw online later, but we'll get to that.
Sure.
Um, well, it seems like you found the right guys because
Good.
it's
I'm
clicking,
lucky.
man.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky. They're lucky. I'm lucky. It's good.
Um,
Everybody's happy doing it.
the last time we spoke in 2021, you took me through your early days, and I just wrote down a few highlights here. You bought records when you were 10. Your father had a great collection. The Rolling Stones were your favorite band early. You
Yeah.
were in a cover band in Miami. Then you moved to Ipswich, where your grandmother lived. Iron Cross was your first band, excuse me. And the sad part of that interview, which I now when I even go back and listen to it, I'm like, oh my God, did I get blindsided because I didn't know
Yeah.
your former friends died in that fire. And their mom bought you new equipment, which was better than the equipment you had, which is pretty
Les
cool, I
Paul.
think.
She bought me Les Paul.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And then not later on, you met when there were a few other bands and things, but you met Pat Leonard and bands that could be God was like the beginning, the first track, I believe, of Moving Targets. But there's a couple other things I want to ask you. But first, this is totally off topic. Did you know a band called Busted Statues?
Oh yeah, love them. One of my favorite bands. We played with them quite a few times. The Targets
Well,
did.
yeah, well, I was listening to the Let's Breed compilation, and then I realized that they were also on bands that could be God. And why did that band get huge? They were
Why
amazing.
didn't they get huge?
Yeah.
Just one of those things. They, they had a lot of good qualities. They had great songs, great swampy sound, great singer.
I figured you might know them. That's why I'm asking you, because I
Yeah,
didn't know much about them because I was in California and I wasn't living here. So I didn't know. I just heard the name. But when I heard the Let's Breed, it was a Throbbing Lobster
yeah,
compilation. I don't know if
I
you
remember
remember
that.
that. And that was the best song on there. And that's saying a lot
That
because
was that was Heart Upside Down, right?
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
great song. I
Yeah,
know.
because there were good bands on there, like the Outlets and a bunch of good bands, but that one
Uh,
really knocked me for a loop. And I just remembered it when I saw bands that could be God. Um, You also told us about how you play. This was great, and I love this because a lot of people have asked me about this. You said you actually played Pay for Cum on the phone for the Bad Brains manager, and you got a gig out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, same story. We got high with the Bad Brains. Their manager gave us his card. We gave him a cassette. He lost the cassette.
Yeah, yeah.
We asked if we could play over the phone, and we ran over to Pat Brady's house, and his mom held the phone up, and we played "Pay to Come."
Oh, you didn't, I don't think you mentioned that part. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another mom. Moms like to help you out, man.
Oh
That's a
yeah,
good
Miss
sign.
Brady was an important part of the Targets because that's where we rehearsed. She fed us all the time. She loved us like we were her own sons. And
Mrs. Brady.
yeah, she's still around. We still see her. The Targets now, Amelia and Eve and myself make it a point. Pretty much every time we play Boston, we go have dinner with her or go visit.
That's
So,
fantastic.
still lives in the same house.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Of course, and the other thing I wanted to mention, of course, the whole story about joining Bullet Lavolta and everything. Incidentally, Todd, Corey LeBrennan, and Kurt have all been on the show now since
yeah,
you were
yeah. I
on the
saw
show.
Todd's thing.
So I've heard a lot of Bullet stories. And
Uh-huh.
I wanted to ask you about Todd Phillips for a second, because when he was on the show, he told a great story about when he was 17 years old. He approached you at a Dag Nasty show at TT the Bears and boldly told you he wanted to try out for the band. What's your recollection of that story? Because I'd love to hear your side of the story.
I, you know, I hate to say I don't remember that, but bless me, I have a terrible memory. A terrible memory. No, I think I remember hearing Todd say that when I watched the interview. I don't remember that part, but I remember talking to him at the Pizza Pad across the street
Yeah.
from TT's, and that's I think where I got his phone number or where we exchanged some kind of contact information. And
Could it have been at a Dag Nasty show?
it could have been. I mean, I could have just been at the Pizza Pad after the show, and I'm just not remembering that he came up to me and said that at the
Yeah, I
show
think he
itself.
said it must have been an all ages show. He was
Yeah,
only 17.
yeah.
So did he win you over right away to come join the band?
Uh, no, no. I mean, nothing. He won me over eventually and stuff. I mean, he was a good drummer at that time, and he became a better drummer as he was in Bolt Lavolta and all that stuff. But I look back kind of at those shows we did with fondness. You know, it was with Jeff Wigan from the Volcano
Yeah,
Suns.
it was only like a 6 week tour or something like that.
Oh, it wasn't a tour. We just did some shows that the Targets had booked before we'd broken up. Like
Oh,
we,
so he
like
didn't really go on tour with you.
yeah, like what happened is the Targets had gone on tour in the States, and we broke up afterwards. Pat Brady, like had to work and stuff. He had a business, so he had to get serious, and he had a girlfriend down in Florida. So we had like 4 or 5 gigs that we had booked. So we just did those and nothing else.
Don't feel bad about your memory when it comes to Todd, because when Juliana Hatfield was on the show, she said the same thing. She
Uh,
couldn't remember things, but Todd could remember everything.
yeah, some of us are better than others.
He's
Uh,
going to appreciate me pointing that out too, by the
yeah,
way. So,
Emilian's he's the one who's going to be the record keeper for this version of the band because he remembers absolutely every gig. You
yeah, I
know,
think I've talked to him on the Facebook page. Or isn't he run the social media for you guys?
uh, I think Eve does it more, but Emilian takes part in it. I'm sure.
One of those guys I remember
Yeah,
talking to a few
yeah, they
times.
pretty
I
much
thought,
do it.
yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about, which I found the video online and I watched it, it was hilarious. BCT Overdrive with
Oh
Corey
wow,
Brennan and Clay Tarver.
yeah.
What was that?
Just like a dumb band, kind of like the Bags do Swamp Oaf or something. We decided to have like a bad band and do a gig, and I think we did like one rehearsal or maybe a couple of rehearsals for it, and just did it. You know, it was more like Corey's thing. You know, so he could like wail on guitar.
Yeah,
And,
I'm sure he was like, I have to be the guitar player. You guys play the other
yeah,
instruments.
yeah.
I found him to be a really fascinating guy. Talk about how,
Oh, Corey, he's incredible. The professor.
yeah. You guys were good friends?
Oh yeah. You know, we don't talk much, but we have spoken over the years, here and there. But you know, the first tour was he was playing in the Lemonheads, so I got to hang out with him for a whole month in Europe, which was a trip, if you could imagine.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the time that they did the door on a radio show in England, and now the tape of that is surfaced with Corey singing on it. It's
uh
really
huh.
good.
Oh
It's
wow, I
really
don't know about
good.
that.
Yeah, it's really good. I didn't know he ever sang a song, but I guess you might know this. I mean, okay, here we go. This is good because you get a writing credit on the Lemonheads Little Seed, and
Yeah.
so doesn't he. So that's why I think maybe you guys did some stuff together. Is that what was going on during that time?
To this day, I don't know why I've got a writing credit on a Lemonhead song. I don't.
Did you play on that?
Oh no, I didn't play on it. No.
Yeah, Coldery recorded that, and Coldery told Paul Coldery, and he told me that when the band, that's Lovey, the Lovey album,
Yeah.
and when the band came in, they they had like two or three songs,
Uh huh.
and they had to write all the songs right there in the studio, so a lot of it
Sure
ended
did.
up jamming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
Well,
don't know
Forrest,
why you have a credit on it?
I don't. You know, just maybe like being part of the Tang family back then. I don't know. You know,
So have you gotten
throwing me a
royalty
publishing
checks?
zone. Uh, I haven't gotten one in years. I got one like 12 years ago. I know there's money for me because I've talked to them, both ASCAP and BMI, but I have to do something. It's this stupid thing I have to do. I have to like fax them an address change and have it notarized or something. I don't know, like some bullshit thing that I just haven't wanted to do yet.
So you're a writer on both ASCAP and BMI?
Yeah.
That's interesting. How'd that happen? Was it just different times that you?
Uh, oh shit! I knocked my water over. Uh,
Sorry, man.
actually,
It's my fault.
yeah. Maybe I'm not on both. Maybe it's just BMI because you can't be on two at one time, right?
I, well, I set up publishing companies on both BMI and ASCAP, but
Yeah.
because there were a lot of bands, I'm sure you realize this from your time during the early like even all the way to the end of the 90s, that bands didn't know how to do that stuff and no one wanted to do it. So when I
Yeah.
started managing bands, I ended up doing it. I'm like, I'll
Okay.
just take a 20% administration fee, and
Hmm.
everyone agreed to it. Of course, I made $12, I think, off of BMI, but
Yeah.
actually that's not true because we did have some songs that got on film. If you get a song in a film and a TV show, as you know, you can make a lot of
Yeah.
money. Have you
Yeah.
had any luck with that?
No, just a porno movie.
A porno movie?
Yeah.
It
You don't
sounds,
know about the punk rock porno movie?
I don't know if I know that.
Well, I mean, not that you would, but I mean, Curtis has spoken about this. Like he, in conjunction with some porno director, like gave them some Tang songs, and like the whole thing starts out with Tang intro, a Moving Target song.
Wow.
Because actually, I tracked it down.
Can you tell my
Years
listeners the
ago.
name of the film so we can
Oh,
all
I don't
track
know
it?
the name of the film. No, this was years ago. This was like 15 years ago when
Curtis
Curtis
will
did
know.
this. Yeah, he said, "Hey, you guys are in a movie." Really? Yeah, porno movie.
That's really funny because Tony Marisco, I don't know if you know that name, bass
No.
player from the Plugs and the Crusados. The
Okay, I know
Plugs
them.
had songs in New Wave Hookers, which was this big,
Yeah,
huge.
I remember that.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, God, that was a long time ago. I can't even guess the dates, but the Plugs did the whole soundtrack. So
Uh-huh.
It's not that uncommon.
Huh.
So basically, you get a songwriting credit, and you didn't write the song. That's great.
Yeah.
It's one of the best songs I think too that the Lemonheads have actually.
It's called Little Seed.
Yeah, it's all about marijuana.
Okay. Huh.
It's on the Lovey album if you want to go back and listen to it.
Yeah, no, I will check it out.
Did you ever play on any Lemonheads songs on any of
Never,
their recordings?
never played on any of their stuff.
But you were close, you had close ties. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, definitely friends with Evan. The first tour like cemented a kind of a bond between both the bands. Everybody that carried on for years after. I mean, I actually recently, like a couple years ago, was talking to Evan on Facebook about hopefully someday we can get together and actually, really write a couple of tunes, like some alt country or something. Because that's something I'm into. I've never released anything, but I do like an alt country thing called the Stone Strangers.
Nice. Well, he's a good guy to talk to because he's a big Graham Parsons fan, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
You want to go all the way back to the roots
sure.
of the whole thing. Are you into bands like Sunvolt and those bands?
Yeah, from what I've heard, my Americana is more like from straightforward stuff like Tom Petty.
Okay.
That's like the stuff that I do. I mean, not exactly like Tom Petty, but Tom Petty, Neil Youngish, that sort of thing.
I love Neil Young.
Yeah,
Um,
so do I.
is this solo stuff?
Yeah, it's on my Bandcamp, like my Bandcamp box set. It's
When I haven't been on that page in a little while, but the last time I was there, I got lost in you had so much
sure, yeah, there's
material.
a lot on there.
Yeah, it's fantastic though, and I think I recommended in the last time you were on for people to go
Nice.
there and check it out. I'm looking at your discography that I put together right now from Discogs, and there was a couple things on here that I didn't ask you about last time. We did talk about Dreadful, and it was interesting because Peter was on my show, and we talked about Dreadful
Was
for a little
oh, I
while.
didn't see that.
Yeah, he was a great person to talk to, and I only had, hi, how you doing, handshake here and there, but I never really got to talk to him. But since then, I went to a Mini Beast show, and
Yeah,
I don't go out very often anymore to shows, but I did catch, if it's an afternoon show, you'll probably see me there. If it's at night, because I'm an hour and a half from the city, so I don't get out a
yeah,
lot. But he was really cool, and he talked about that and how interesting. And you had mentioned that you played on a bill with Christmas and Proletariat.
yeah.
And
That was my first gig with Dreadful in the Den.
yeah, Mike
The Moving
Cudahy was
Targets also was on that bill.
yeah, right, the Targets, yeah. And Mike Cudahy was on the show too. And I don't know, did you know Christmas at all or
Oh
just
yeah, I love Christmas. Yeah, I mean, I knew them from seeing them play at the Rat or like Chet's or whatever, and then bands Could Be God. Then I got to see how they were in the studio. No, I love Christmas.
so did you like that Boston art scene that was happening at the time?
Uh, I didn't know much about it, but I just like I got to see bands by like once the Targets started playing in Boston, I started going to see bands a lot. Like say we do a gig with the Busted Statues, maybe a couple weeks later I'd go see the Busted Statues play a show somewhere else, on their own with a couple other bands. One of them might be Christmas, so I'll discover them there, that kind of thing. But I wasn't connected in any way really to the art scene.
Who were some of your favorite bands from that early era? Like say, I'd say 83 to like 88 around that, because that was a really hot scene in Boston.
For local,
Yeah. I know you play with Bullet and Movie
yeah,
Targets during that period.
I mean, I like the Proletariat a lot. Uh, I'm pretty sure I saw them open for, I want to say, the Violent Femmes at Storyville. Do you remember that show? Like right before the Violent Femmes got big?
Yeah, I wasn't at that show, but I was at a show they played at Spit when they were a little bigger than
Yeah.
that. That
I'll never
was
forget that show. Like they played that show, it was packed. Storyville wasn't very big. I
that
mean,
must have been before 83.
okay.
Am I right?
Couldn't have been much more though, because I wasn't really going into town until like late '82. So
Maybe it was the beginning of
yeah,
83. I
yeah.
left for California at the end of 83, and I know it was before that.
Okay.
Which leads me to ask you about the Steakheads.
Steakheads. How'd you find that out?
I found it online. What? There's apparently recordings, right?
Yeah, the Steakheads. I mean, came out of this band called the Belch Boys, which was a punk rock band that my roommate and I started. He had these songs. This guy Matt Buckland. Like the first time I ever moved out on my own in Ipswich, Mass. We lived in this house, the four of us, Matt's brother, and this other guy as well. And Matt had these songs. Like I didn't know anyone in Ipswich except for me and Pat Leonard that was into punk rock. And he had these great songs. And so I played drums, and a friend of ours, Orville Giddings, played bass. Pat Leonard got involved.
Was it a cover band?
No, all originals.
Really?
Matt wrote all his own songs. Yeah, he had like dozen songs, 15 songs, and yeah, they're on cassette somewhere in a box. You know,
Somehow made it on, I
yeah,
think, Discogs, I think is where I
huh,
saw it.
that's
And,
weird.
and I also saw this on Discogs, Smash Pattern.
Yeah, Smash Pattern. That was Chuck Freeman playing drums and myself on guitar, and this guy Scott Town playing bass. That was in between Target's breakups.
Right.
That was like in '84,
Exactly.
and
Exactly 84.
yeah, we had like some of our own songs and songs that later became Moving Target songs. So we wrote about like a dozen songs when we were together. Not too long.
Is that when you really started getting into the songwriting? Because you've written quite a few since then.
Yeah. Is that when I got into songwriting? Actually, you're right. Because around that time, um, like before I ever got into recording, like Chuck Freeman had a 4-track cassette recorder, and we used to record Smash Pattern rehearsals and do demos and stuff like that. And I shortly after that got my own Tascam 4-track, which really, uh, the songwriting thing started then. Where I could like just sit down, write a song, record it, have it done like in a couple hours, you know,
Interesting. Yeah, it
from nothing
was,
to something.
and
So
you've got a lot of you wrote your song hundreds and hundreds, maybe even 1,000.
not 1,000, but I probably got like 300, 400 songs, something like that.
Last time you were here, we spent a lot of time talking about that period in between 86 and 90 because you were so busy. What do you remember about the recording of The Gift? Because it seems like, that's one of those records as time goes on, people go back and look at it and go, wow, that's one of the great records from that period. What do
Uh-huh.
you recall about that recording session?
I don't remember much from it. Just we did it pretty quickly. The band was pretty tight when we went in. We were rehearsing at least 3 times a week. Um, and that was with Paul, right? Paul Collery.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I don't know. It was a fun record. I mean, I don't remember like specific stuff about it. I really don't.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to, it
No.
seems, I don't know how you could remember all of this stuff, believe me, because there's a lot. But, I just know that that record right there is brilliant. And, I've talked to several of the guys. I was in a record store in Medford. Chris Anzalone, do you know Chris?
Yes.
He has a record store, and I was in there one day, and this guy walked up to me and said, "Are you Steev, Riccardo?" I'm like, "Yeah." It was Chris, the
Okay.
drummer from Bullet Lavolta. I didn't
Oh.
recognize him at all,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
I'd seen him play, but early on, but
Yeah.
because he was there, before Todd. He's a really nice guy, and he told me he heard all the interviews, and I said, "You're welcome."
Oh,
And he said he would consider it, but I haven't heard from him yet. But
uh-huh.
that was really
Oh yeah, he
interesting.
should do it. Yeah, Chris is a great guy.
The solo records that you put out,
Yeah.
um, I've ended up listening to a lot of the stuff you've done. It's really good. The instrumental, are they all instrumental, or is it just one of them that's all instrumental?
One's instrumental, Sin Cigaros.
It's excellent, man. Really good. I
Thanks a
was
lot.
listening to it and I was like, and I'm going to ask you this question. How could you write songs that good and not put lyrics to them?
Because I'm lazy. I'm super lazy with lyrics.
Do you ever
Uh,
go back and find an old instrumental track like that and say, you know what? I think I'll write lyrics to this.
no, never occurs to me. I uh, I hate writing lyrics. Hate it. I mean, as a matter of fact, right now I'm in the quagmire of like writing lyrics for this next record. I mean, I still haven't finished it. Um, I take a stab at it every day. Get a little further and stuff like that. But it's like pulling teeth for me writing lyrics. I don't consider myself much of a poet, or a storyteller, with in the music realm. The words are there for melody, and emotion, and something's going on. But it's I'm not.
It's it's
I
it's
have a tough
funny.
time with lyrics.
It's
That's
funny
just
hearing you say that because some of the songs you've written are excellent and they have excellent lyrics. Like I've told you, I like that song Apart a lot and Make It Easy more recently. But
yeah,
over the years, there's been so many things. Oh, you know what? I did forget something here.
yeah.
In 2004, and someone asked me why I didn't ask you about this in the last interview, you were in a band called American Pulverizer.
Oh yeah.
What was the deal with
Oh, we
that?
didn't, we didn't talk about this. Oh, that was just okay. It started with the name. My friend Mark McGee. You know Mark McGee, right?
Sounds familiar. How would I
Marky
know him?
Muscle. Marky Muscle.
Oh,
Two
yeah, yeah,
two
yeah.
Saints. Okay, so
Yeah.
Marky Muscle had this band name, American Pulverizer. So then, like we were talking about, songwriting and stuff, and having a 4 track. I mean, at this time I probably had an 8 track, but I recorded some songs like what I thought American Pulverizer would sound like. And we went to New York City. We used to go to New York City to guitar shows, and I brought the tape along and like puffed a joint and then put the thing in, played it for him, and he like said, "All right, let's start a band with this." And so we got a friend of ours, this guy Joe Jazz, to play drums, and a guy named Will to play. I mean, he played bass, and this guy Will played drums. And we never like did anything. We recorded like a demo, a 3-song demo, and did like 10 gigs or something like that. But
Oh, so
it was like a good punk rock band, like a little bit of Target sound in it because I was playing guitar and singing, but like more straightforward punk rock, you know.
interesting. I don't know if I asked you this before, but there was a long break, it seemed, for you
Yeah,
between like 2010 and 2019.
yeah.
Did you just, what happened?
You know, I got into some bad stuff, man. I got into drugs.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to bring back bad memories. I just
That's
saw the
okay. No,
whole,
no, no. Just it's part of my story, man. You
it
know,
happens.
just not no need to talk about it much, but I got into drugs and kind of shifted my focus away from music.
Well,
I
you
still
can't,
wrote songs, but I wasn't like strung out or anything like that. It wasn't that bad, but it was like a pretty serious drug habit, that I had for about a dozen years.
wow. I'm glad you recovered.
Yeah,
You came back strong though, because 3 records, 2019, 20, 3 Targets records. You worked with Tony Goddess on a
oh yeah,
record.
yeah, great guy to work with.
How did you end up working with Tony?
We just we're doing a tour, and I think we went to visit Gloucester or something like that. I don't know. Somehow I like ran into Tony or got in touch with Tony, and just passed by him the idea of like recording the Targets, and so we
Didn't you
did our
do an
first.
outrageous number of songs?
No, we just did like 13, 14 songs, whatever's on there.
Why did I think there was something you put out where you did like 27 songs?
No, Humbucker has 15 songs. That's got like
50.
too many
Okay, well,
songs.
I can't add very well.
Yeah,
So yeah, and Humbucker, Maxine LaJoy. I didn't know
yeah,
who that was.
yeah. That's a friend of ours from Montreal who
See,
had a studio. I mean, we ended up, we were actually possibly going to record with Tony again for Humbucker, but like COVID was coming and was fucking everything up. So I mean, I think I told you the story. Like the hours before they closed the borders because of COVID, like I got to Montreal and we like on the sly recorded this record. Like while
yeah,
all this COVID shit was going on, they had like curfews going on, and like you couldn't like really be driving around with like three guys, driving around town or anything. You get
I
pulled
bet
over.
you they were a lot. I bet you they were
Oh yeah,
stricter in
they're very
Canada.
serious about it there. So yeah, like I was like, we'd drive to the studio, like maybe I'd hide like down under the seat and stuff, so it wouldn't seem like there was like people going somewhere, you know, whatever.
Wow.
And yeah, so we recorded it with Max.
Was Canada really bad during the COVID?
Oh, like I don't think so. Just because they're so strict about stuff. I don't think it was like the States.
So was there mask mandates and all that?
Uh, I don't think at the time, because I mean I got there right. I mean they closed the border like 3 hours after I got there, so it was still like in its infancy.
Did you have to stay there for a long time?
Nope, just stayed there for a couple weeks.
No problem getting back in the country?
No problem getting back. I thought they'd say, "What are you doing here?" But they didn't. There was no problems.
Um, okay, we're almost getting current now. I love to do this. I got to go through.
Okay.
In the Dust is just a superior record, man. I love it, and it
Thank you
seemed
so much.
like a lot of other people did too.
Yeah. Who?
You didn't get a lot of airplay?
I have no idea. No, well, that's not true. Um, Emilian, as I said, he's like the guy that remembers everything, the historian of the band. He'll once in a while, after In the Dust came out, he would send me links that showed like that MBR played it, and they were playing it a lot,
Oh, of
like
course
a
they
few
were.
times a week,
Yeah.
with the DJs and stuff. So yeah, I have no idea how many it sold. I'm sure like a pretty modest amount, but
It's on vinyl too, right?
vinyl. Oh yeah, yeah.
So did you make CDs as well?
We made CDs. Yeah.
So when you went on tour, did you sell a lot of, were you selling a lot?
Uh, in Europe, yes. When we go to Europe, we make money on merch and the shows. Especially now, we do it just ourselves. We don't have a road manager. We get European licenses, like 90-day licenses, and just do everything ourselves, which is cool. I mean, we miss our road manager and stuff, but it's just like a money saving measure. Um, but in the States, nah, I mean, people don't know the Targets. We don't sell much. It's just the sad truth. People who are into the Targets are probably like my age or a little bit younger. They don't go to shows anymore.
I'm sorry, man.
That's okay. Thank you. No, that's okay.
I kind of disagree with that, the fact that you think that, I think the Moving Targets are a very respected band. I mean, a lot of people are fans of the band. And I don't know about the sales numbers, and I
Yeah.
don't I don't know if anyone does, but I think you've done pretty well with this band, and it's
Oh yeah.
still
No complaints. No complaints. I mean, we're gonna do another tour. When this record comes out, it'll be out next fall. Hopefully, we'll do another tour. Why? Because we love playing together. We have a great time together, you know.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I'm lucky that these guys, want to put their time into it because they've got other bands, girlfriends, jobs, shit like that. But they give a lot of their time and effort to this. So
Yeah, they seem to love playing with you. Um, do you feel like your songwriting is gotten more poppier as time goes on? I mean, you've always had a few songs here and there that
yeah,
pop out as more commercial, but I mean, Make It Easy is a very radio friendly song. I hate to use that expression, but I come
that's
from the
okay.
record industry world.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I think, how can I explain this? When you start, for me, starting the band with Pat Leonard and Pat Brady, we kind of had our thing, which was like very high energy, you know, kind of fast, not hardcore. And so you make that first record, Burning in Water. And I mean, me as a songwriter, I don't want to like stray too suddenly or too much from that formula. And I hate to call it a formula, but I mean, you sort of like, you set a standard with the first record, you want to grow a little bit on the second record, but like not too much. Like, I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't have put like Make It Easy on like any of the early Targets records. They just wouldn't have fit. Now with this band, this version of the Targets, we stretch out a little bit more, you
Do
know.
those guys do those guys encourage you to go in a more commercial direction with your
No,
writing?
no, there's uh there's no encouragement at all that they give me. No, that's not true. They they just I don't know.
You're funny, Ken.
It's weird how we write songs now. I mean, like the record that we're about to record has like parts that were written by Eve. That's kind of like the first time, he's come up with his bass lines, but now like, he's got parts where like we kind of co-wrote the songs. Like
Nice.
I had half a tune and he like said, okay, how about this? And like it ended up being in the song. And that's like on three or four different songs.
Have you
So
shared songwriting credits before with anyone?
no, not until this band. Now,
Wow.
now it's just like all songs written by Moving Targets. I just think like whether I write them or not, I don't need to be an asshole and like say I want, not that I'd get any money out of it, but like, this is all me and stuff. I think bands are better when it's like shared, you know. I
It's
just
that has worked for a lot of
yeah.
bands,
I mean,
actually.
if the band got big for some crazy reason, like we went on tour, a Warp Tour or some shit like that, and suddenly went up a notch, and there was money. I mean, I'd want to split it between the three of us, because everybody does their share, And I think just one last note that breaks up bands, you know, like people getting all the dough with songwriting, like you hear about the Stones, like Mick and Keith, like they're, millionaires and stuff. And like Ron Wood, has to go on tour and has to like sell paintings to make a living,
I
So
think Bill Wyman actually was quoted as saying he thought he
he
wrote a
was.
few
Yeah.
songs
Yeah.
and he didn't get credit for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I think I saw the same thing.
You told before we talk about Jay Robbins, because I want to get into that with you. I just want to go back for a second here. When we last spoke, you told me, how you were a big Stones fan when you were young, and you said
Yeah.
that Keith was your favorite back then. But the way you said it when I re-listened to the interview was back then he was. Have you liked him less as the years have gone on?
Uh, God, I hate to say anything bad about Keith Richards. I mean, he's so awesome and he's, done so much. Like, yeah, my love for him has lessened. My idolizing of him has lessened. I mean, when I was getting into Keith Richards, it was like 1972. I mean, and to like some girls and stuff, he was like, I don't want to say he was still really cool because he's cool. He's Keith Richards, but he's lost a little bit of swagger just because he's an older dude. That's all.
I
You
think
know,
there
and I
was a
think,
drop. There was a drop after when Ronnie Wood did join the band. They had a few good records, but then they
yeah,
dropped off. It wasn't like the Mick Taylor
yeah,
era
no,
of the
no,
band, and
no.
or even Brian Jones.
And the Stones now, they're like a machine. I mean, they don't have like that rough edge that they had, like in '75 or even still '78. When they were on tour, they became more professional. They get like backup singers, which is okay, and like keyboard players, which is okay, to fill out the stuff. But it just becomes more of a they're playing the same set every night, bark one or two songs, and everything is choreographed. So
In '94, when I was working at A&M Records, we had Brian Adams, and he opened a bunch of their stadium dates. And my part of my job was I had to go visit all the stores in those markets. So I was at Georgia Stadium, War Memorial Stadium, the Cotton Bowl, and the Astrodome. So I
wow.
saw the Stones in all those venues.
Uh-huh.
It was sick, man. It was '94 though, so it was
Yeah.
kind of like start me up, and I was out before that, but that was how they would open their shows, would start
They
me
always
up.
open the shows with Start Me Up.
There you go.
Yeah. They've been
So
doing it for 25
there
years.
you go. Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That was 29 years ago. But I never saw it's you'll like this though. When I was working at another company, Third Stone Music, I worked for Michael Douglas's music company. I
Okay.
met with Mick Taylor one time. He came
Yeah.
in looking for a publishing deal.
Wow.
It was I was very starstruck.
He's
But
a
I
phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah, talked to him for a
Played a
while.
lot
He
of
was there with
classic
a
stuff.
Yeah, he was there with a manager of
Mhm.
his, and he was surprised that I knew about John Mayall and the earlier stuff that he did, before the Stones, because he didn't think that I would know about his early English bands, and we talked about that. It was really interesting.
It's cool.
Um,
I
so
have a connection to the Stones
let's hear it.
through Bullet Lavolta. It's not as cool though. But when we were gonna do the EP that became Gimme Danger,
Yes, RCA
uh,
record.
yeah, we had meetings with a couple of producers. One of them was um, oh fuck, the Jimi Hendrix Led Zeppelin producer, Eddie Kramer. That was
Whoa.
awesome. We had lunch with Eddie Kramer, basically. Like he wasn't going to do the record. We didn't do that, but he was, one of the potential people. So we had lunch with him. But we met with Jimmy Miller, who
Ooh.
all the great Stones records, and he was like a guy that we were maybe going to have in mind as well. And that didn't happen for some reason. But he came to a show that we did in Rhode Island with his
Jimmy Miller
girlfriend.
came to
Yeah, and
see
hung
Bullet?
out with us. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He came and saw us, and he loved the band. And yeah, I don't know why we didn't do anything with him.
Was it Dave Jordan well, I don't know if he did the EP, but he did the album,
Yeah,
right?
he
I
did
think
the album.
you
The guy that
left.
did the EP is like the New Kids on the Block producer. I forget his name, but he was a producer for New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, I didn't write that down, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But you left after that EP, so you didn't work with Dave Jordan. They worked with
no, I didn't.
Jordan.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
did. Yeah.
Well, there was one really great song on that record that I thought should have been a single, but RCA just didn't know what the hell they were doing with the
What
band.
record? I mean, what song?
Between the Lines.
Okay.
I don't, did you know that song, or was that after you left?
That was after. Like, there's like maybe four songs on Swan Dive that I played on a demo, like before I left the band and stuff. That ended up on Swan Dive, but all the other ones are like post my being in the band.
Between the Lines, I thought had a really good hook in it. It
Uh-huh.
was I'm surprised. I was surprised it didn't take off. But, I mean, I've talked to those other guys, and Kurt especially, and it was just a rough period. There was a lot of weird things going on for the
Yeah.
band at that time. Before I'm going to get to Jay. The live at the Kling Klang. What is that? Because I just noticed that.
Live at Kling Klang. That's a live. It's digital only, and it was like a school project that this friend of ours did. She chose to like record a live band and videotape it as well.
Really?
Yeah, and so
Can
she
you
did
find
that.
the video of it?
Uh, the video is not very good,
It's not.
and I'll tell you why. Just because it's like it's behind the crowd and you can't see the band very well. It's
Oh,
I don't know why, but the recording itself, the audio came out good, so we decided to like post that. You know,
I
after we
haven't checked it out yet, but I will. I did
yeah
just see that. I know it came out in 2023, so I missed that.
yeah
Um,
it's no big deal. Like we have something better actually. That's a live EP. It's a 2-song EP with Dead Wrong from Bullet Lavolta and
oh yeah, yeah.
America.
Did you co-write Dead Wrong?
I wrote the music for that.
Nice. That's one of their great
That's an Iron
songs.
Cross. That's an Iron Cross song. I wrote that song when I was 15. It had
Wow, really?
lyrics. It was called "Get It Together"
Who was it that also someone else released a cover of that song and I can't remember who. It was a few years ago.
of Dead Wrong.
Yes.
Wow, huh?
Yeah, I'll have to I can't read. My memory's a little as well. I know I saw that and I was really surprised. It was someone that was on my show, and why can't I remember who it was? It could have been a Boston band. I'll have to go back and look at my past shows to figure it out. All right,
Huh.
so I knew Jay a little bit from Government Issue, and of course, he went on to have a lot of success with Jawbox, Jay Robbins. How did you get on their radar? Have you known his radar? Have you known Jay for a long time?
No, not really. I mean, we knew who each other were. He knew I existed. I knew he existed. I mean, we'd played, a gig or two together, like in the late '80s.
Yeah,
Um,
that was around the time you
yeah,
and
we played a DC show with Government Issue, and he was in the band at that point. So that's where I met him and everything. That's the origin, and we're Facebook friends, and I knew he was a fan of the band. And when Rona and I moved to Baltimore, he reached out and said, "Hey, you're in Baltimore now. That's great. You want to get together for a coffee or something?" And so we got together for a coffee, and I told him, that the band was going to be recording a record at some point down the road, and be good if we could work together. And then it just happened.
so what's the plan for the recording?
The plan is we got 5 days in February, late February, that we're going to do the basic tracks, and then he's going to produce it at
What
home.
studio?
His studio, Magpie. It's like 10 minutes away from my house.
Is
Great
it
studio too. Great studio.
so this is right near Baltimore?
Yeah, it's right on the edge of downtown. His studio.
Do you live in Baltimore?
Oh yeah, we live in Baltimore. Yeah,
Interesting.
last time we talked, I was in Texas.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I knew you moved, but I didn't know you were in Baltimore. I
Yeah.
thought maybe you were in one of the surrounding areas.
No,
Because
we've been here 3.5 years. We're like 10 minutes from downtown.
do you like it?
Love it. There's a lot of crime though, but we fortunately haven't been hit by any crime yet. But
That's good. And please, give Rona my best, by the way. I should have
oh
said that
yeah,
a long time ago because I know Rona fairly well from her band. Used to play for 1 year, I think it was 2009. I was
uh-huh.
helping Mickey Bliss book the Club Bohemia when I had lived here for that 1 year.
Yeah,
And I met her and she was doing the R&B thing. It was really
yeah,
good, man.
yeah. I
Really
never got
good.
to see that.
Yeah, it was
That ended right before we got together.
excellent band.
Yeah,
Um,
I'll give her a hello for you.
Thank you. So do you have all the songs? I think you mentioned before you're still working on songs to record with Jay.
Just lyrics. Yeah, we got all the songs. What we did is we did a demo uh, at the end of our tour, like in November,
Hmm.
with
With
my friend.
him?
No, with this friend of mine, Chris Squire, that I mentioned before from Rapid City, and
Not the
this
not
other
the
guy
late
named
departed, not the late
no,
departed
no,
Chris
no,
Squire from
Yes,
Yes.
not the Yes Squire. No, he gets that a lot.
I'm sure he
Um,
does.
yeah, he's from San Diego. He's been in like a million bands. I'd be surprised if you didn't know him somehow or know some of the bands he's been
It,
in.
I probably do.
Yeah. Anyways, like he and this guy Neely Johns did the demo. We did like a 15-song demo, and like our Kickstarter, we had like as one of our Kickstarter perks, we called it the ultimate package. Like you'd get like an 8-song demo with like 3 songs from the record and like 5 non-record songs or whatever.
It's
And
very
so
smart. That's how you do it these days, man.
So yeah, so we had 15 songs and we whittled it down to 12. We want to make like just a 12-song record. So
Do you have a plan for a label, or are you just going to do this
oh no,
yourself?
it's still on our label in the States is Dead Broke,
Okay,
and
yeah,
it's been really good with them, and Boss Tunage in England and Europe, and that's been great. I mean, that's who we started with, Boss Tunage with Wires, and they've been good to us. You know, they give us a bunch of merch to sell and let us do our thing and just give them a record and they put it out. So
that's
it's nice.
fantastic having a support system like that with a label
Yeah.
and all that, especially
Yeah.
in this day and age.
Yep.
Um, is there anything you're listening to these days that you want to talk about? Any new stuff or old stuff or whatever? Do you have a turntable? Do you listen to
Uh,
records?
no, man, I don't listen to much, like I'll check out things like on Facebook once in a while that somebody posts. Um, don't have a record player, don't have a CD player, don't have any of that shit. So don't even have a radio. Um, I mean, I could listen to like NPR online or something like that, I'm
So you
sure.
don't you don't listen to streaming like Spotify or any of those?
No. Rona has all that stuff. What
Does
do I
she
like?
play
I
music
love
in
the
the
new.
house?
Uh, no, not really.
Wow, that's really funny. Two people that are
Yeah,
so musical like you guys don't listen to
yeah. There's
music.
like no music in the house. I mean, we'll watch stuff on YouTube, but it's all like Nick Cave or whatever, or something like that. Something old. But the
You're
new
busy
Jesus
with
record is
7 kids though, right?
what? Yeah. 7 kids. New Jesus Lizard record is fantastic.
Okay, so you are listening to some
Yeah.
stuff.
We
Yeah.
went and saw them. They played DC a couple weeks ago. They were really great. Um, there's some other band that I really loved. I don't even know how I discovered them. I can't think of the name right now, but I was playing them for Rona. She hates them, but I love them. Uh, it's this band with a couple girls and a couple guys in it. Anyways, if I figure it out, I'll let you know. But
You're
yeah, I don't
funny,
listen,
man.
don't listen to much stuff.
Hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you,
Yeah.
man.
Same to you, man.
And I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys do with Jay Robbins because Jay's really good. He's good. I
Well,
mean,
I'll say this last thing. The record's going to be a little less poppy,
okay,
a little harder.
that's good.
Yeah. Just, it so happened, like that was the scraps we had to work with because we got together last summer for a couple weeks and rehearsed all the songs in Montreal. Yeah, I didn't tell you that either. That was fun. Rona and I went to Montreal and
Nice.
we like rehearsed every day at their space. So that was just the energy. Like those guys come from a punk rock kind of thing, you know. Me a little more poppy, melodic. So when you blend it, but this record's going to be a little more punk rock.
Do you think you'll have any special guests or anything on the record, or is it just going to be you
Yeah,
guys?
maybe like Jay singing some backups like he did last time. Maybe doing a guitar part or something. Like Jay played a couple guitar parts on a couple songs. He actually, I'll share this with you. This is something that people normally wouldn't know. There's a song called "Decadent Side" on there.
Yeah.
Okay. Besides the feedback, the whole first half of the song is just Jay playing guitar
What?
because my Dupuytren's contracture, my finger thing was fucking with me, and I couldn't play like the notes properly. So I just said, "Hey Jay, do you mind like being a stunt guitar player for me, and he like did that. And then it goes like up way halfway through, and then the song kind of shifts gears, and everything else is just me.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, that was
Like
cool.
it'll be a trivia question someday, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right.
Ken,
Well, thanks a lot, man.
thanks, Ken. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. I'm glad you wanted to do this. I had a good time.
All right, man.
All right.